On a dying orbital ring, a young alien girl whispered for food while her sister watched her fade with nothing left to give. Tomorrow had become just another word. In a desperate move, the sister walked through the forbidden glass doors of a human agency, ready to trade everything she had for one thing her sister needed most: survival. What she didn't know was that this single step would uncover secrets, test her courage, and change two worlds forever. If you are new to the channel, then please subscribe to the channel and like the video and tell us where you are watching from. Now, let's jump into the story. On the dim edge of Ringway 9, an old orbital that circled a silent blue world, two sisters curled behind stacked cargo shells. The air smelled of metal and recycled mist. Sina wrapped her arms around Leary and counted breaths so her own worry would not shake the child. Leary's scales, once bright like morning tide, had dulled to thin gray. Her eyes blinked slowly as if each blink weighed a stone. "I'm hungry," Leary whispered. Her voice sounded like wind inside a pipe. Sina had said tomorrow so many times that tomorrow started to feel like a story instead of a day. Aid chits were stuck in some office queue. The kitchens asked for new papers they did not have. The work lists were short, the lines were long, and the signs were polite only if you could not read the fear behind them. She stroked Leary's head frill with a soft palm. "Little star, I'm here." The words were true, but they were not food. The habitat shifted into night mode. Panels dimmed to a cool violet, and the market's noise thinned to distant hums. Music from the rich decks drifted down, a sweet echo that didn't belong to them. The sisters had lived through worse, but the long hunger had a way of turning strong thoughts into thin threads. Sina felt it pulling at her, thread by thread. There was a door she had walked past many times, a set of glass panes with a gentle sign, Culture Bridge Liaison. The hall smelled like flowers there. People who stepped through that door walked out with pressed clothes and steady steps. Rumors said the door led to humans who wanted guides, voices, company, to dinners and soft rooms and rules you had to learn fast. Rumors also said you could bow too far and not know how to stand again. Sina had refused before. Dignity is a kind of food, her mother once said, and she had believed it. But even dignity can only hold you so long when a child's hands are empty. She looked at Leary's face, at the way the frill tried to lift with a show of courage, and then fell again. The promise she had made to their parents felt heavy and bright at once. Keep her safe. Teach her hope. Bring her into a morning that belongs to her. Sina pressed her lips to Leary's forehead. "I'll fix this," she said. Simple words, steady tone, a plan not yet shaped. The next cycle dawned in pale gold. Sina left Leary nested in blankets they had saved from a repair bay and walked the back service route to the upper ring. The corridor lights sharpened. The air grew cleaner as she climbed. Her reflection in a bent panel showed sharp cheeks and tired eyes. She straightened her shoulders and kept going. The glass doors of Culture Bridge hissed open. Inside, air felt like no place she had breathed in months. Warm, fragrant, kind. A desk attendant with 4 nimble hands and calm eyes looked up. The badge read Braxt. The voice was even and careful. "Welcome," Braxt said. "How may we help you cross cultures today?" Sina told the truth in short sentences. "My name is Sana. I can learn fast. I know the lower decks, the repair bays, the old lift routes. I speak standard and traders can't. I need a placement with a human envoy." Braxt listened without surprise. The clerk glanced at a table where fruit sat in a bowl. "Please eat," Braxt said, not in pity but as protocol. "We will review options." The first bite made Sina's throat tight. She ate slowly, as if the fruit might vanish if she moved too fast. Braxt's fingers danced over a slate. "There is an envoy who asked for a cultural guide, not a host," Braxt said. "He is new to Ringway 9. His name is Jonah Marlowe. His work profile includes community programs. Is he fair?" Sina asked. "We screen," Braxt said. "Yet trust is always a bridge you step on while you walk." Sina nodded. Suspense braided with hope inside her chest. The door to a better room was not the end of fear. Sometimes it was the start of a different kind of test. Still, tests could be passed. Braxt set a time for a first talk that very afternoon. Before Sina left, the clerk slid a small credit chip across the desk. "For preparation," Braxt said, arranging papers as if it were routine. "There's a grooming shop 2 levels down. Present this and they will see to you." Sina stood very still. Then she whispered, Thank you. Braxt only inclined a head as if nothing unusual had happened. She ran the errands in quiet focus. Clean scales caught the light again. A simple soft garment sat on her shoulders like a promise that she could be more than the hunger had made her. She bought food for Leary and watched color creep back into her sister's cheeks. When Leary smiled faintly at a sweet cup, Sina felt the hook of suspense twist in a new direction. Could this be the turn that finally held? I have to meet someone, Sina told her. Wait in the small garden near the glass hall. Keep your head down. If anything worries you, use our code. Leary nodded. She had learned codes the way other kids learn songs. As the time ticked toward the meeting, the station's lights seemed to grow brighter and colder. Sina breathed in, breathed out. She was not going there to be owned. She was going there to build a bridge and carry her sister across. The doors slid open again. Braxt met her with a quiet look of approval. Right on time, the clerk said. Please this way. The hook tightened. Somewhere beyond the next door waited either rescue or another fine-worded trap. Sina stepped through. The introduction room felt like a calm pocket in a noisy world. Soft panels glowed. A window showed the blue curve of the planet below. Sina stood near a low table, hands steady at her sides. A tall human with warm brown skin and close-cut hair rose from a chair. His uniform was simple, not flashy. His eyes held that careful attention you offer a person you wish to hear clearly. Jonah Marlowe, he said with a small bow that looked practiced, but not stiff. Thank you for coming. Sina, she replied. Thank you for seeing me. They sat with space between them. Braxt lingered only long enough to pour water, then slipped out like a shadow that knew when to leave. Jonah spoke first. My work is to help build fair paths for families who fell between rules. I need a guide who can tell the truth about how Ringway 9 really runs. I need someone who can say, no, Envoy, your plan will break here, before the plan breaks a person. Sina listened for the catch, for the word that tilted kind into control. She did not hear it. What do you ask in return? She said, honest counsel, Jonah answered. Companionship in the sense of shared hours and shared insight. Attendance at events where a local voice matters, and a willingness to say hard things gently. He paused. There is a guest room. There is a stipend. There are medical vouchers. There are boundaries. Privacy is real. If you ever feel unsafe, you walk away. No one follows. The room grew very quiet inside Sina's chest. The hunger had trained her to doubt good offers. Doubt kept you alive. But sometimes the bridge in front of you was solid and waiting. I have someone, she said. The words came out low. A younger sister. Leary, she needs food, school, care. I will not leave her in a corner while I dine in a bright room. Jonah's face changed in a small, important way. Not shock, not annoyance, attention. Does she have safe shelter at this moment? As safe as blankets and luck can make, Sina said. But luck is thin, Jonah folded his hands. The suite I use has 3 rooms. If we try this for 2 weeks and it works for us all, your sister can stay in the 3rd. She will have her own door, her own terminal, and access to clinic care. If it does not work, you keep your pay for the trial and go without penalty. Sina had prepared to bargain, to argue, to risk pride. The sudden relief was so large it frightened her. Why? She asked. Because asking why can save you from later hurt. Because it is right, Jonah said simply. And because stable guides do better work than frightened ones. They spoke for a long while. Sina told him where the vents whistled when pressure dropped, which cargo arms paused for repairs in secret, which supervisors made neat reports while losing pallets into private storerooms. Jonah showed he knew enough to be useful, and not so much that he would pretend. He did not interrupt her when she spoke about how standard rations missed small minerals that certain species needed. He wrote notes and asked if she wished to add anything before he filed them. At last, Jonah stood. Shall we try? He asked. Sina nodded. We shall try. He passed her an access card that glinted with a simple seal. I have meetings until 1800. Bring your sister, eat, rest, explore. Send me a message if anything worries you. Sina rose. The card was a thin piece of metal, light as a leaf and heavy as a road. She thanked him and left the room with steps that felt both careful and free. In the garden, Leary lifted her head when Sina appeared, the frill opening with a soft flutter of relief. Well? She asked, trying to sound casual and failing in a hopeful way. We have rooms, Sina said, and the words felt like sunrise. 3 of them. You will have your own bed. And school. Leary's hands flew to her mouth. School? She said, muffled by her fingers. Then she laughed. It was a small laugh, but clear. People turned their heads to find the sound, and then smiled despite themselves. They followed the lift as it hummed toward the upper decks. The door to Jonah's suite opened with a gentle click when Sina pressed the card to the reader. Warm air drifted out. Lights were soft. The window showed a wide avenue lined with green. In the kitchen, meals waited with labels that showed ingredients and safe pairings for different species. Sina set a plate for Leary and one for herself, then forced herself to pause before eating. She checked the bedrooms. No locks on the inside doors. No hidden monitors beyond the standard security grid. The terminal asked for her new pass and then let her in with full access. The closet held a handful of simple outfits in her size. Her throat thickened. Eat, Leary pleaded. Please, they ate. They ate with care so their bodies would not rebel after lean nights. Color crept back into Leary's face. Sina felt her own hands stop shaking. Evening slid in quiet as Jonah returned. He greeted them with easy respect, as if it were ordinary for strangers to become neighbors in one day. Leary thanked him with a shy tilt of the head frill. Jonah did not reach out to touch her. He let the distance be her choice. That small restraint felt like a gift. After a calm meal, Sina watched him for anything that would ring wrong. Nothing did. He asked Leary what she liked to learn. He asked Sina which community leads he should meet first. He listened to both as if the answers mattered. When lights dimmed, Sina lay awake for a while, the good kind of restless. Suspense lingered, but it no longer felt like a cliff. It felt like a bridge at night. You could not see the end, but you could feel the strength under your feet. Days began to stack like clean plates. Leary went to classes where sunlight panels were tuned for young eyes. She found books that felt like old friends she had not met yet. Sina joined Jonah at meetings that smelled of paper and polished floors. When officials spoke of numbers, Sina spoke of faces. She said, "The child with the gray frill needs iron." And the room went quiet because numbers rarely blush and children do. Together they mapped the path of aid parcels and found where the paths grew narrow. Sina noticed which crates vanished between docks and kiosks. She recognized the marks a sly handler scratched under a bin when a lost bundle held something worth keeping. Jonah used his badge to ask hard questions in soft tones, while Sina stood beside him like a compass that refused to point anywhere but true. With small shifts, better food reached the lower decks. Not enough to boast, but enough to breathe. Sina nudged the change toward community-run stalls. The rule was simple. The people who stood in line would help decide how the line moved. They posted lists clear and plain. They made a small box for notes. Every evening they read the notes out loud and changed what needed changing. One afternoon, a visitor came to the Sector 19 stall with a smile that did not touch his eyes. His name was Exor Toll, a smooth envoy from the Xandrian bloc. His coat gleamed like oil. His words were sweet and practiced. Impressive order, Exor said, watching the line flow without pushing. The Xandrian bloc admires such skill. With our support, your reach could triple. We offer shipments today and influence tomorrow. Sina's answer was calm. We accept help that does not demand our voice in trade. Our work stands on community choice. We will not trade that for more boxes. Exor's smile stiffened. Neutrality is a story people tell when they are afraid to choose. Sometimes, Sina said, neutrality is the only way a hungry child can trust a hand that offers bread. Exor left with a polite nod and eyes that promised more talk. The next week, glossy posters went up near the lifts, showing Xandrian gifts with clean fonts and soft colors. Some people took the gifts, some did not. Sina did not judge the ones who did. Empty cupboards write their own rules. She focused on small structures that could not be twisted. Every new stall published its ledger on a wall. Every volunteer took turns, so no one owned the table. If a rumor rose, they traced it back to its start and set the record right in the open. The work was slow and sometimes dull. Slow and dull are two good friends when you build something that has to last. Leary grew stronger. She brought home ideas like treasures. A map she made of vent currents. A story about a teacher from the ocean worlds. A proof for a puzzle with marbles and string. Sina watched her learn and felt something in her own chest unclench. One evening after a long day, Jonah stood at the window and spoke in a quiet voice that carried gravity without weight. "I may be called to Earth for a time," he said. Talks are tense. Some voices want louder guards, fewer teachers. The room seemed to lean just a little. "How long?" Sina asked. "I don't know," Jonah said. "I will make sure your rooms and work are safe in my absence. I have already filed the papers." Leary stood very still. "Will you return?" She asked, simple and brave. "I plan to," Jonah said. "Plans are not weatherproof, but they are still plans." The next morning, the transport bay smelled like jet fuel and coffee. Jonah handed Sina a small secure link device. "Use this only if a wall falls that you cannot climb," he said. "And keep building the things that one person cannot knock down." After he left, the corridors felt longer. Xandrian crews redoubled their visits. Posters gained sharper words. Their gifts shone brighter than before. Whispers crept along the rails. "This stall picks favorites, this ledger lies, this volunteer pockets the sugar," Sina answered with sunlight. She held open meetings and read every ledger line with anyone who asked. She listened when critics made fair points, and she fixed what was fixable. Where a claim was false, she named it a lie without dressing the word in silk. There were fears, of course. Rumor moves faster than truth because rumor wears boots while truth goes barefoot. But a barefoot step can still ring loud if the ground is firm, and the ground was getting firmer. Sina also learned to rest just enough to keep standing. She asked Leary to teach her a small math trick before sleep. They laughed when Sina fumbled numbers and clapped when she found the rhythm. Hope grew not as a shout but as a steady hum. One dusty afternoon, Exor Tull returned with 2 aids and a gift crate. "A pilot program," he said. "No strings. Take it as goodwill." Sina looked at the crate and then at the people waiting for tokens. "We will open it in the center, read the manifest out loud, and add its contents to the ledger," she said. Orr's smile wavered. "You insist on theater." "We insist on light," Sina said and lifted the lid. Inside lay neat packets with clear stamps. "Good food." The aides watched her fingers move the way you watch a chessboard. Sina logged each item. The line advanced one step at a time. Slow, dull, strong. It was not a scene that made big news. That was fine. Big news fades. Sturdy habits stay. As the cycle turned, a message blinked on the secure link. Jonah's voice arrived in small pieces due to distance and security filters. But the meaning came through like clear bells. "Hold steady," he said. "A decision is near. Your reports mattered." Your ledger spoke louder than a speech. Sina didn't answer right away. She walked the length of the stall, touched the clean ledger with her palm, and let the quiet settle. Then she sent a short reply. "We're still here." The hook from the first part had not vanished. It had changed shape. Suspense now lived not in the fear of falling, but in the question of how much their bridge could carry when the next storm arrived. The storm came as storms do, in pieces that seemed small until they were not. Ships rerouted. Prices ticked up. Posters thickened like weeds. Some donors paused, waiting to see which way the wind would blow. Rumor claimed the community stalls were a mask for one flag or another. Sina did not spend her days arguing with rumor. She spent them counting boxes with volunteers and handing bowls to elders whose hands shook. At the same time, she gathered proof with patient hands. She kept copies of manifests. She mapped where rival gifts were placed beside listening posts. She wrote dates, times, faces, not as weapons, but as witness. A week later, Exor Tull visited once more, now without a smile. "Choose a side," he said, tapping a neat finger on the ledger. "You think the middle keeps you safe, but the middle is just where the flood hits hardest." Sina's answer was quiet. "We chose a side long ago," she said. "We chose the side of the line. We chose the side of the child who waits without pushing." Exor left a final time, and the room felt lighter. That evening, the secure door chimed. Jonah stepped in with travel dust on his sleeves and a new badge that did not glitter, though it could have. His eyes looked tired and kind at once. "We have a plan," he said after greeting Leary with a small nod meant for equals. "Earth will support neutral corridors for food and care, even when voices argue about other things. We will help scale your model, but keep the control in the hands of those who stand in the line." No flag at the counter. Only clear lists, open ledgers, and a box for notes read aloud. Sina folded into a chair. She did not cry. She exhaled a long breath that had been living in her ribs for months. There will be tests, Jonah added. Some will call this weak. Some will try to paint kindness as a trick. But corridors built on simple public rules are hard to break without breaking the rules for everyone, including the ones who break things. We can live with that, Sina said. The next months moved like honest work moves, with sore feet and small joys. More stalls opened with the same 3 promises on the wall. Open lists, rotating stewards, names read aloud for both praise and correction. Some days, a pallet was late and everyone grumbled together. Some days, an elder laughed and the whole line laughed with her. Leary's class built a small model of the network with string and pins. The teacher hung it by the window where it looked like a bright river. Sina stood sometimes, at the edge of a stall, and listened for the sound she had dreamed of in the darkest weeks. Not applause, not speeches, just the steady murmur of a line that trusts it will move forward. One afternoon, a council called for testimony. Jonah asked Sina to speak first and promised to stand back. She wore a simple jacket and carried a ledger with corners that had grown soft from use. In a room where the ceiling glowed and the floor shone, she said small words in clear order. She talked about a boy who saved half his ration for his sister, and about how the new mineral mix put color back in her frill. She explained why the notes box mattered, because people sometimes only dare to tell truth when they can fold it and drop it through a slit. When she finished, the room stayed quiet for a breath, the kind of quiet that means minds are actually working. Then questions came, and they were about practice, not theater. A door opened a little wider. That night, Jonah cooked noodles and a stew that matched a recipe Leary had drawn from her class archive. They ate at the small table with elbows touching and spoons clinking. Light pooled warm on the plates. Outside, the ring turned. Ships blinked like lazy stars. Today reminded me of the first evening here, Sina said, smiling toward Leary. When we counted breaths and tried not to believe too quickly. I remember, Leary said. The window looked too big and the bed felt like it might disappear if I slept. Beds can become promises, Jonah said, if someone keeps choosing to hold them steady. Sina looked at the 2 faces across the table. She thought about how the story had begun with hunger that sounded like a hollow drum, and how it now hummed with shared work. The ending she wanted was not a door slamming shut on danger, but a door that stayed open because hands kept it oiled and hinges clean. And so the ending did not try to be loud. It was built of gentle choices that kept happening. A bowl filled and passed. A note read and answered. A ledger line written without pride or shame. A sister learning proofs and jokes. A friend who came back when he could, and made sure the bridge stayed strong when he could not. The night settled soft, and in that soft, the 3 of them made tea and planned another stall for a deck that had only ever known long lines and short luck. Somewhere, a poster curled at the edges and fell. Somewhere else, a child with a bright frill smiled into a spoon. The ring turned. The bridge held, and the story, which once felt like a narrow ledge above a drop, widened into a road that others could walk without fear.